Alternative Facts Chicago.
Chicago's #1 podcast.
Chicago. The city of Chicago. Alternative Facts Chicago.
Chicago's #1 podcast.
Audio file production.
The city of Chicago.
This is episode 88 of Alternative Facts Chicago. This is B.Hun back again. I'm solo right now. This is going to be a great episode. My homie Cait is at a LinkedIn event this week, so you know what is A-okay. I am very excited about today's episode. Got a very special guest, a previous guest of Alternative Facts Chicago, one of the best minds in sports media. We'll have him on here in just a moment, but I'm back again. We are very, very close to 100 episodes. I'm sorry about that. And I cannot wait. We're going to have a special episode coming up. Many people did not think that Alternative Facts Chicago would reach 100 episodes. Look, we're still here, surpassing a lot of podcasts did not make it, but they'll remain nameless. But we're going to stay humble and rock with it. But we appreciate you all for listening and supporting the show since day one. So before I get to our guests, let's plug our social media. First of all, you can always find us on Twitter at 8Facts Chicago, on Facebook at Alternative Facts Chicago. We do thank you for all the engagements on there. We make a lot of posts. We get a lot of comments, so we do thank you for that. Also, you can find us on Instagram at Alternative Facts Chicago. And then my Instagram and Twitter is B.Hun1984. Once again, that is B.H.U.N. 1984. You can always email us show ideas and sponsorship ideas to our email account at alternativefactschicago@gmail.com. Please keep the support coming. We are on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, Podbean, anywhere you can find our podcast at Alternative Facts Chicago. So really appreciate you. Make sure you support us, subscribe wherever you can, and please keep leaving reviews. We've definitely added more. We appreciate more. We always check them out, good, bad, positive, or negative, but we always check them out. So thank you so much for the support. Before we get to our special guest, we do have to plug Sunset Music Festival coming up here in Tampa over Memorial Day weekend. Alternative Facts Chicago will be in attendance. I cannot wait. So one of my favorite artists, Cascade, will be there. We have Zed's going to be there. Alenium's going to be there. Zed's Dad going to be there. Much more. You can find tickets still online at smftampa.com. Once again, that is smftampa.com. Make sure you get your tickets. Alternative Facts Chicago will be in the house. If you see us, make sure you come and say hello. Definitely one of the bigger and better EDM festivals around the country. I know summertime festival season is starting, so we appreciate the opportunity to be there. We'll definitely be showing love and hopefully have an artist interview or two set up. So that is to come very shortly. So Memorial Day weekend, make sure you check us out. Check them out, SMF Tampa for Sunset Music Festival. Now that we got the fun stuff out of the way, I cannot wait. NBA playoffs are going on. NBA drafts coming up very soon. I've been checking this guy out on Twitter, known him for a little bit. He's been a previous guest on Alternative Facts Chicago. We got amazing feedback the last time he was on the show. So you know what? Perfect time to bring this guy back on. We got to say hello. Welcome back to Alternative Facts Chicago, Mr. Rashad Phillips. How you doing today, sir?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me again on this wonderful show.
We appreciate you. How you been doing today?
I've been doing fantastic, man. I can't complain. I'm in 85-degree weather, so the NBA playoffs is on. I'm feeling good.
And you know what? We just talked about it, but I recently just moved to Tampa. Life's good. The weather's awesome. Chicago's an amazing city. We'll always have love for that city and still right there. But, man, being in Florida, warm weather, you can't beat it, as you do know.
Can't beat it, man. Can't beat it.
Absolutely. And you just had a birthday, so happy birthday to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you feel a year older, a year wiser, or does it feel the same, or how you feeling right now?
I feel a year wiser and a year less young.
Hey, I bet the jump shot is still as wet as it was from the very first day, though.
Yeah, for sure. The jump shot never leaves.
You know what? I will not doubt you for anything. So, first of all, if you not follow him on Twitter, he has posts all the time, and I have no idea why. And I comment on your posts sometimes, and I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, this guy gets literally everything right. And if you do not know, his nickname is Yoda for that reason. He has just a crazy knack for predicting things that have occurred in hoops from college to high school at the NBA level. So you got to fill us in on one of your secrets. What do you do, or what do you know that other people do not know?
I just I just think that I've been tied into basketball for so long that I have intuition where I can just feel what's going on. I can fill out the play of different teams, of different players, and it just results to me sharing a little bit of that knowledge through social media.
So why hasn't a team picked you up to be their general manager yet? Like, what the hell's going on, NBA? You got to get it together.
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I'm definitely open to sit down with teams. I believe that the skill set that I have and what I provide, I could be a huge asset to an organization.
You know what? All things are possible. One day that just may come to fruition. And we started that here on Alternative Fact Chicago. Make sure you remember that.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Detroit Pistons, your move. I didn't mean to say it, but you know what? I had to say it. Detroit Pistons, your move. You got to get this guy on board because we're going to talk about the Pistons a little bit later. But you know what? I think they can make some changes. You might be the right person that can help them with that.
Absolutely. I could see that.
One day, one day. Now, switching gears, we got the NBA playoffs. Obviously, we got a couple game fives tonight, so I know you want to get to watching that. But before we talk about specific teams, players overall, I'm sure you watch every game, you deep dive into every series so far. What's in your mind has been the biggest surprise of the NBA playoffs so far?
I think the the surprise of the playoffs has been the poor play of the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
I don't think they've played relatively well, even though they're tied, and they play tonight, obviously, but they're tied. And I just think that they haven't gelled properly like they normally do. They don't look like a championship team right now. And also on the other end, you have to talk about the Toronto Raptors. They look well. Kyle Lowry looks like he's gotten over his playoff woes, and the Raptors look like the team to beat. And the Golden State Warriors look like they can be beat.
So you really think, I know we've seen this in playoffs past, you really think in a 7-game series, even with the Rockets, I know it's 2-2 right now, you think one of those teams, whether it's the Raptors, Rockets, Bucks, one of those teams can take them out in the 7-game series?
Yeah, I do. I do believe that.
Okay. And speaking of the Golden State Warriors, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Steph Curry, elephant in the room. He has not played that great. Now, obviously, he does have, a dislocated finger. Maybe that's a little bit of an excuse, but he seems to be playing second fiddle and almost handing off the reins to Kevin Durant. So do you think he would much prefer or just plays better without Kevin Durant? And why is that?
Yeah, I think he's struggling for a few reasons. Obviously, the finger or what have you, but playing second fiddle to a guy that wasn't on your team a couple years ago, that's a hard transition. And if you look at Steph Curry's history, he's never had to be the second option. I mean, when he went to Davidson, he was the man. When he got drafted at Golden State, he was the man. And then all of a sudden, Kevin Durant comes on, and now he has to take a little bit of this backseat role, not only taking a backseat role, but also his role has changed on the team in regards to he's not the number one option. He's standing in the corner. He's doing a lot of watching. And Steph Curry is not effective when he's watching other people play. He's most dangerous when he's moving without the ball, when he's dancing with the ball at the top of the screen.
Right.
He's not been able to play that way because Kevin Durant has been playing a lot of ISO ball as of late. And that's why I think Golden State is vulnerable right now, because they need to get back to allowing Curry to be the number one guy, or at least switch it, back and forth between him and Durant.
And you would say that, funny you say that, because, having Kevin Durant, one of the top 2 players in the world, you think they'd be better, but do you feel that almost they're turning back into like the Oklahoma City Thunder of old, where it's just Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant, standing playing ISO ball when that's not how the Golden State Warriors have been built? Do you see some similarities to where, yeah, they may still be winning, but at the end of the day, that could be a detriment, to the organization or how they're playing in the playoffs? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that right now what we're watching, we're not watching the Golden State Warriors. It just looks like a carbon copy of Oklahoma City, where, Durant was the guy playing one-on-one, and he's showing the world how terrific and how phenomenal of a scorer he is. But at the same time, you're taking your teammates out of rhythm in that same breath. So, yeah, I see a lot of the ISO ball, and I don't think that it's beneficial for the team. I think it's great for Durant, but how the Golden State Warriors play, I don't think it's necessary there. I think Curry wants his own team again.
I feel that, and even with Klay Thompson, like, he's kind of third fiddle, which he's been okay with, but I feel like his body language just seems a little bit off right now. I'm not sure if the tests have noticed that too. So, what's his future there? He hasn't been shooting that well. He's also standing in the corner, or is he just in the fact of, the ISO ball that's been going on right now?
Yeah, I really believe that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, I think they've huddled up and just said, "Hey, man, we can't wait till this guy leaves," because, and I just think the NBA is better when you spread out the talent more. Klay Thompson he was drafted there. Curry was drafted there. Draymond Green was drafted there. So those are homegrown development guys for that franchise. And I just think Kevin Durant came in as an outsider, but he was so good that they could accept it. But if Durant leaves, I believe Golden State will have to pay Klay whatever he wants to keep him, because Curry and Klay together, they're just so dynamic. You can put anybody else at that small forward position. Remember, they won 73 games with Harrison Barnes.
Right.
Small forward position, and they lost in the game 7 of a final. So they've already proven that they can play, without having a dominant small forward. They can just have a respectable one.
Well said. So going forward, I know it's only the second round. Do the Golden State Warriors get eliminated to Houston, or will they hold on and make it to the conference finals?
I think they win in 7 games, but I think it's going to be ugly, which it has been. I predicted this going in. I just said, hey, this is going to be an ugly round of basketball, and a lot has to do with, the long jump shooting, the attempt to draw fouls that James Harden does. So it's going to be an ugly one, but I think Golden State wins this in 7 games, and it's going to be ugly. I think they hold off, though.
I agree. I definitely think that they'll win it. And I think they'll still win the NBA championship, but it's definitely going to be closer than people think. One of the Eastern Conference teams that are playing great right now could give them the run for their money. And we're going to talk about that just here in a minute. But switching gears to Boston as well as Milwaukee. Obviously, they're playing, Game 5 tonight. I know we talked a little bit off air about that series, but let's talk about Kyrie Irving. And I don't know if you noticed, but his body language just seems a little bit off. And even in his press conferences, he seems to think that it's okay. It's not really his fault. He's playing fine, even in a loss. But is he showing that he may be a better Robin as a point, when he played with LeBron James in Cleveland, as opposed to a Batman and running the show? Or it's just that the Greek Freak is just playing on another level, so it just doesn't matter who's on Boston right now?
No, I just think that Kyrie Irving is who he is. And I think that the general public and the media has painted Kyrie to be this superstar, which in my mind, he was never a superstar. I think he's a star player, but he's not a superstar. There's a difference. And
wow.
And I think with Kyrie being drafted number 1, I think guys try to live up to being drafted number 1. And if you look at Kyrie's record outside of LeBron, and you take him off of Boston and just go with what Kyrie has done on his own, he's always had a losing record. But that's the elephant in the room nobody really wants to address. I don't want nobody to think I don't like Kyrie Irving. I actually like Kyrie Irving. I just don't look at him as a superstar. And it's proven right now the Boston Celtics is more of a team-oriented type of organization. And Kyrie, he's not willing to do that. He's not willing to sacrifice his own statistics, his highlights, all of those things come into play. and he doesn't know how to balance those and win at the same time. So his team has struggled because of that, because he's taking too many shots. He's not facilitating. I think he lives for the highlight reels, and you can see it. I mean, watch the games. I mean, I'm not making this up. All you gotta do is watch the games, and it's like, you know what? He could have kicked that there. He didn't need that extra. You know, there's just a lot of things in the game that I think he does is unnecessary.
That is a crazy take, calling him not a superstar. So would you say that Kyrie Irving's not one of the top 10 players in the world right now?
No, he's not.
Interesting. So okay, hypothetically speaking, would you take, you don't have to name who, but would you take 5 point guards over Kyrie Irving if you were starting an NBA franchise right now?
Yeah, I would.
Oh, wow. That is a hot take, Alternative Fact Chicago, because there are a lot of people who love Kyrie. I love Kyrie too, but I do think he needs to be more of an off-the-ball player. Obviously, he can't be specifically a shooting guard due to him being shorter, but, he meshed well with LeBron James because LeBron James played, more like a PG, like a point forward type role, and he played off the ball where I think he was most successful at, especially in the playoff runs with Cleveland, which could be why all the rumors of, potential Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving pairing in New York may come to fruition, because obviously, Durant can play point forward as well again, and Kyrie can kind of be that Robin type role. I feel like that might be the best role for him suited to be successful, as opposed to being ball dominant and shooting the ball and not getting others involved as much. I feel like that's a detriment to why the Celtics are not winning, because you mentioned, they play so much better as a team when almost he's not on the floor as opposed to on it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding. This is just, if you just watch the game, they were better last year with Terry Rozier running the point, and they were actually better with Isaiah Thomas as well. I mean, that's just the facts.
I can't doubt that, looking at record, how they played. I mean, obviously they made the conference finals last year, almost nearly made the NBA finals. And this is just surprising to see if they go down in 5 games, because I didn't expect that, even if, being a 4th or 5th seed, I was like, they're going to turn it on the playoffs. And looking that they played an injury, laden Pacers team, maybe that just wasn't really who the Celtics really are.
That's just what it is. And you're playing against a tough Milwaukee team. And I just think Milwaukee smells blood. And I think Boston loses tonight.
And so you think they're done? It's over?
I think they're done.
And Kyrie's out of there after this season, or do you think he comes back?
No, he's not going back to Boston.
He's on that first plane to vacation, and he might not even go back to Boston to pack his bags. He might just say, you know what, deliver it to where I go play next.
Yeah, I would see him getting on a private jet after they lose tonight to Milwaukee.
We shall see. I'm hoping we get another game out of this, but you know what? You might be right. But obviously, by the time this airs, we'll have the final of the game. But in regards to the Toronto series, Kawhi Leonard has just been playing amazing. And I've seen your hot takes, on your YouTube show, obviously on Twitter as well. And not to say that, Kawhi Leonard is Michael Jordan or is the next Michael Jordan. I know you did not say that, so we're not going to go saying that. But I know you have mentioned that he's been playing Jordan-esque, and that's gotten a lot of attention. Why do you think that's how he's playing right now?
Well, I think he's always been a great player. I just think that now that he's pretty much has a team to himself, he's able to showcase how good he really is. And if you really dig into Kawhi's tape, if you dig into his tape, you'll see that he patterns his game after Michael Jordan and after Kobe Bryant. Not a lot of dribbles, get to your spots, elevate, with the giant hands, the way he plays defense. He leads with a mysterious greatness about him. I mean, he has some attributes about him that when you watch him play, you'll say, man, that was like MJ. That was like Kobe. 2 dribble right pull up, 2 dribble left pull up, post fade over the left shoulder, post fade over the right shoulder. Like, if you look at how he plays, he's just a more efficient version right now, and he's playing at a high level.
I feel like obviously he's playing the best of his career. Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that Greg Popovich, he said previously that he was more of a system player. But clearly, from what it looks like, not to say he played bad by any means, he was still an all-star, great player in San Antonio. But it just feels like now he's able to be himself, play freely, almost unstoppable right now.
Yeah, I mean, I said that on Twitter, and I think people really, you only get so many characters on Twitter, so I can't tell the whole story, nor do I want to tell the whole story on Twitter. I give you enough to chew on to understand. I love Greg Popovich, so I have nothing against any of these players or coaches or anything. I just call it how I see it. And Popovich didn't come out publicly and say that Kawhi was a system guy, but he didn't defend it either.
Right.
It was more of a passive aggressive take. And then he did say Kawhi wasn't a good leader.
I remember that.
So if you're saying a guy is not a good leader, then you must believe in your heart that he's not your number one guy. So obviously that bled over a little bit and it kind of rubbed Kawhi the wrong way. And as a competitor, as a great player, that would rub me the wrong way as well. Like, oh, you don't think I'm a leader? So you really think I'm a system guy? Okay, then I'll show you. That's how competitors think. So that's the take that I gave on Twitter, but I wasn't going to give more than what I already said.
I totally agree with that. And it's a reason now why he sat out all that time. It completely makes sense looking back on it now.
All you got to do is just follow the signs, man. Look at how it happened. Look at what went on, and look where Kawhi is now. Kawhi's playing with an extra chip on his shoulder. He already played with a chip on his shoulder. He's playing with an extra chip on his shoulder because he wants to show people I was not a system guy.
Give it to us straight, man. Right here, right now, with the Milwaukee Bucks, Toronto Raptors, Eastern Conference Finals, be a series that literally anyone wants to watch. Give it to us straight.
Yeah, I look at it. I picked Toronto to go to the finals back in September, so I'm going to stick with my pick. But to see the Bucks and the Raptors go head and head, I just think the ratings will be fantastic. You have two terrific teams, but two superstars in Kawhi and the Freak. Both of these guys are they're freaks in their own nature. So to watch that, both of those guys collide, those juggernauts collide, and just to see the storylines behind everything, Coach Bud, Coach Nurse. And I just think it's a fantastic story. And I think the Raptors win in 7.
But would the common NBA fan, not just an NBA fan, basketball fan, I know you're a basketball head, you're probably going to love this. Many basketball heads will love this. But for the common fan who may not care about Toronto or Milwaukee, would they really, really watch this year? I know you said it's going to get great ratings, but why is that?
Because at the end of the day, you're looking at two guys that are in the media a lot now. Obviously, Giannis is going to probably win MVP of the league. So you're watching the best player, the most valuable player in the NBA playing against a guy that has changed teams, that's a former finals MVP, 2-time defensive player of the year. So you look at the storylines and look at the teams. Both teams play an exciting brand of basketball as well. Neither team plays a dull style. Toronto is fun to watch. Milwaukee is fun to watch. So you're going to see a lot of explosion. You're going to see a lot of offense. And you're going to see a lot of superstardom. So it's a must-see, even if you're the casual fan.
Should be interesting to watch. And briefly, we didn't mention these two teams, but Portland, Denver, in a dogfight right now. Win, lose, or draw, whoever comes out of the series, give us your opinion on who's going to be the best, long-term team here and why of these two teams.
Well, I picked Denver to go to the Western Conference Finals in September, so I'm going to stick with that pick as well. But I think Denver I just think they have more promise. I think they're trending up more than the Portland Trailblazers. The injury to Nurkic really hurt Portland. I think Portland needs to bring in a third guy, whoever that could be. They just don't have a third guy yet. And if you look at all winning teams, championship teams, there's always a third guy. And Portland just doesn't have a third guy. So when you look at the Nuggets, I just think they're a good team. They have a ton of bodies. I just think their promise is better going forward. If they can get Michael Porter Jr. healthy going into next season, I just think Denver is building something, obviously, with the Joker. Then you got Jamal Murray. Those are your two superstars right there. They're trying to find that third guy. It could be Gary Harris. It may could be Will Barton, but it possibly can be Michael Porter Jr. So to go with my theory, every team needs a third guy that can play, and Portland only has two.
That is a great, great point. They're exciting teams to watch. Both teams.
Yes.
I mean, Damian Lillard is just
Yes.
playing amazing. It's actually been good basketball to watch if you stay up long enough to watch West Coast games.
Absolutely. I love CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. Like, I'm a personal fan of them. Like, I would pay to watch those guys play all 82 games. But I'm just speaking outside of that and just speaking strictly basketball. And I got my GM hat on here. If I'm a GM for the Portland Trailblazers, I'm combing the NBA. I'm combing the scouting boards because I have to find a third guy to fit CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard in order for us to move forward.
Fair enough. And I'm shocked, but we've made it almost halfway through this episode and have not mentioned LeBron James when talking about the NBA, which is nuts. It's crazy. It's never happened almost in previous seasons, which, you know what, I'm okay with. I've loved the change. But do you feel like the NBA playoffs has missed the presence of LeBron James?
No, I don't. I think it's a breath of fresh air at the end of the day. I just think, like, this is nothing against LeBron, but I think he gets too much media. Like, he takes away from the other great players that's playing. So now we finally get a stage where we get to talk about Damian Lillard. He gets to have his moments. We get to talk about Jokic. We get to talk about Kawhi Leonard. I think with LeBron being out, we're able to see how great other players are in this league.
Well said. I definitely agree. I think it was a change of pace, and people are probably saying that LeBron's probably unhappy about not playing. He doesn't care. I mean, he's chilling in LA, doing episodes of The Shop. Right? He's chilling. I think he wanted a well-needed break.
He needed a break.
Right. You could tell the way he was ended last season. He didn't care. He just wanted to get to a break, and he'll start fresh and come back probably more rejuvenated than ever this upcoming next season.
I agree.
Absolutely. So right now in your mind, season ends soon, who's going to be the NBA champion and why? YODA, I know you're great at predicting things. Who's going to win the NBA championship?
Man, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go with the Raptors.
Ooh, why is that?
I just think that the Raptors, I think, and this is barring any injury. If anybody gets injured, main player on their team, then obviously they can't do it. But if they remain healthy, I think the Raptors will win the NBA championship this year.
And you predicted a lot of things, so I'm going to hold you to that. Remember, you said that. We'll revisit it, and some of our listeners may come at you if that's not right, but that is a bold prediction.
To me, I just think it's a basketball prediction.
And that is fair enough. And speaking of basketball, I mean, when you talk about stats, you're talking about best players in the league, you would think that someone who is a walking triple-double like Russell Westbrook would just win or at least get to the NBA Finals time and time again. But he's proving that is just not happening. But so would someone like Russell Westbrook continue losing in the playoffs show a player coming up in high school, college, who thinks that being a walking triple-double is great for you, but is he proving that type of basketball will only get you so far?
Well, first of all, I just think it's unfair to put all of that on Russell Westbrook. Like, we have to take into account that, at the end of the day, you tell kids to play every possession like it's their last. You're supposed to compete. And I think that Russell Westbrook does all of those things. First of all, he competes every possession. He plays hard. He's not the perfect basketball player, but here's a guy that if you put his heart into a lot of guys in the NBA, they would be superstars. So I wanted to get that. I wanted to say that first. But in regards to the triple double being a wasted stat, I wouldn't say that. I just think that we have to look at the scouting department for OKC. We have to look at the guys that they brought in. And when you see you have a certain player that is as dynamic as Russell Westbrook, you have to do a better job of surrounding him with the people that are compatible the way he plays. And I just think they don't have enough jump shooters with him. I mean, obviously Paul George is great, but again, name me their third guy. Who was their third guy?
So it just seems like we're at a time where to really, truly win in the NBA, you really have to have that third guy. Is that what you're saying?
Gotta have a third guy. You can't win in the NBA without a third guy, and then, you got some listeners that may say Steven Adams. Steven Adams is not a third guy. He's a good player, but he's not a third guy. That's why OKC tried to bring Carmelo, because they wanted a third guy. So anytime you don't have that, you put so much pressure on your two superstars, a la CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. So it's just like my theory. If you just look at each team, the teams that can win have a third guy. Look at the Raptors: Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, Pascal Siakam. They have a third guy. Mm-hmm. You have to have a third guy in order to win.
And I'm glad you mentioned Carmelo Anthony. Wasn't even on our list of topics here, but come on, is he going to get a farewell tour like D Wade, like Dirk Nowitzki, like all the other greats of recent, or what?
No.
Why? Come on, man. He deserves that moment just like the rest.
He probably deserves it, but the NBA is not really, they don't have sympathy. They've already paid you $30 million a year, man. You're okay. You can go buy you a farewell tour. So I don't think they look at it like that. But as a fan, absolutely, I think he deserves that. As a fan, I would like to see him go out on his own terms. I believe he still can help any team. I just think that what happened to Carmelo Anthony, I don't want to get off the subject, but what happened to Carmelo Anthony is basically the NBA style of play messed up Carmelo Anthony, because he was a mid-range player. He was a mid-post iso ball guy on the mid-post, and the NBA has gotten away from that style of play. So the type of player he is has become almost extinct. And that's why he hasn't been able to land on the NBA team, because he's a ball stopper, but he's a mid-post ball stopper. He doesn't really help you behind the 3-point line, and he doesn't give you anything on the defensive end as far as impact. Yeah, he plays defense and all that, but he doesn't have a defensive impact. And offensively, the game is not played that way anymore. So 20 years ago, 15 years ago, Carmelo was built for the NBA, but now the style that he plays is almost extinct. He's like a saber-toothed tiger.
So you're saying he's done in the NBA?
I don't think he's done in the NBA. I think he's going to get one more shot next year, but he's going to have to conform his game. Nobody's going to throw you the ball in the mid post and let you jab step 22 times and take a fadeaway jump shot. The game is not played like that anymore.
Yep. And so he would have to adapt his game to get one more season or one more shot on the other team, if that actually happens.
Yes, if you look at all the players, let's take Blake Griffin. Look at the Detroit Pistons. Mm-hmm. Blake Griffin had to change his game to be compatible for how the NBA is played today. Blake Griffin's like shooting threes now. He's like getting assists. Like, he never played that way. Mm-hmm. So when you look at a guy like Carmelo Anthony, he's never changed his game. So people can say what they want. I love Carmelo Anthony. I loved him in Syracuse. I think he's a Hall of Famer, but you have to look at the styles. The NBA is all about trends. It's for 10 years, it's about small guards. And then 10 years is about big guards. And then 10 years is about 3-point shooting. And then 10 years is about moving the ball around. The NBA is about trends. And right now, the trend is 3-point shooting, and Carmelo doesn't fit that trend.
Speaking of trends and 3-point shooting, you were always a fan of this guy, Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. Many people doubted his skills coming into the NBA, but you were always a fan. You thought he was a future. So what did you see about his game in college coming out that led you to believe that not only he would be a great player, but even a future all-star? And what do you think his future outlook is?
Well, again, I'll go back on what I just said. When you look at the trend of NBA basketball, and if you watched how Trae Young played at the college level, you could easily see that his game would translate to the NBA style, because it's more spread offense, it's more 3-point shooting, and usually good NBA teams possess dynamic point guard play. And that's what Trae Young is. So I knew that once he got to the NBA, he actually would be a better player than he was in college. So for me, evaluating Trae Young was the easiest evaluation that I've ever done in my life.
So he still should have been the number one pick last year, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, he should have been the number one pick.
Should he win or at least be called Rookie of the Year?
Absolutely. I don't see why he shouldn't. I mean, he won Rookie of the Month every month except one, and the one that he didn't win, he should have won. So you take that in consideration. Secondly, he was second in the NBA in total assists, not among rookies, among the whole NBA. He played 81 games out of 82. He was extremely clutch. He had 4-game winners. He was the best three-point shooter outside of 36 feet. That's including Damian Lillard and Steph Curry. He was player of the week in the NBA, not rookie of the week, NBA player of the week. So if you look at the things that he did and the teammates that he had, they all, not all, but 4 of those guys had career years that was on their way out the league. Dedmon, Alex Len, Vince Carter wants to come back and play with him, and John Collins averaged 20 and 10. This is because Trae Young inserted himself into that lineup. He had the biggest impact of any rookie to step foot in the NBA since LeBron James.
I've seen a lot of my friends say that Luka Doncic would run away with the Rookie of the Year, and I just don't see how. And with all the stats you just ran off and the impact, and I feel like Atlanta is on the rise right now. Like, how did people just would say that it's a landslide that Luka would win Rookie of the Year over Trae Young? I just don't see it.
No, I don't either. And this is not taking anything from Luka, but I think with Luka, at the end of the day, there's not a lot of Lukas in the league. There's not a lot of European superstars. So when you get one superstar, you want to make sure that you don't allow that moment to fade away. So I think that we're trying to ignore Trae Young and give more attention. We're over sensationalizing what Luka did when I think he was expected to do that. You see what I'm saying? Luka came to the NBA. To me, personally, Luka is not a rookie. To me, he's not a rookie.
No.
And I think the NBA needs to change the word rookie, because just because it's your first year in the NBA shouldn't make you a rookie. What makes you a rookie is your first time playing professional sports.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that.
So you understand what I'm saying? So Luka has been getting paid to play basketball for the last 4 or 5 years. Trae Young was at his prime 2 years ago in high school.
Big difference right there. And speaking of rookies or guys who just can't get together, Deangelo Russell had an all-star season. Is he really as stupid as he acts sometimes off the court, or is he just still just very, very immature? What's his problem?
I just think that's just a human mistake. And you know what? I'll say it like this, man. I'm 41 years old. Like, there's things that I've done when I was 22 years old, 23 years old, 24, that we live in a social media. We live in a world where everything's reported, everything's sensationalized. And I just think that was just a mistake that he made as a human. I don't think he needs to be condemned for it. I think we just need to allow the kid to be a kid. He's 22 years old, or however old he is, and you're going to make mistakes. I just think that since they're professional athletes, it gets put on Front Street. But at the end of the day, he's a human. He made a mistake. He didn't rob anybody. He didn't hurt anybody. So I don't think that it should be as magnified as we try to make it.
Well said. And switching to some NBA draft talk here briefly, Zion Williamson, obviously of Duke, should be and is expected to be the number one pick. And I've seen a lot of reports saying that a lot of people think he would fit well with Trae Young in Atlanta. Do you agree, and why?
I agree 1,000%. And this is why I agree. I want to break it down from Zion's standpoint, because I've already talked about what Trae can do. So when you look at a player like Zion, here's a kid that doesn't have all the basketball skills, but he has all the basketball intangibles, meaning you don't have to run offensive sets for him. I don't think he's going to be good in the NBA if you made him a number one option. So when you put him with a team like Atlanta, you won't have to run sets for him. You won't have to make him the number one option. He can roam around, be athletic, catch alley-oops, block shots, be entertaining while Trae Young and John Collins are holding the options of scoring down. So you give Zion the ability to roam the floor and just be his athletic self. But if he goes to a team where you're trying to run offensive sets for him, hey, we're throwing it to you, you go one-on-one, I think that's when you set him up for failure. Trae Young possesses magnetism, and when you're around him, you automatically become better.
And obviously, if Kyrie goes to New York, okay, they have a point guard. But if Zion goes to New York, Kyrie isn't there, who's really going to create for Zion to really make him a better player? Who do they have right now that can really make him that guy that you saying he can be?
I don't think New York's a good place for him because they're trying to recruit superstars. So the Knicks are trying to get into the playoffs. They're trying to win a championship. If that's their goal, then Zion isn't the guy you want. You want to go after, obviously, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. So if you get those two guys, I think putting Zion with those two guys, I think he doesn't have a good rookie year because those two guys are not going to try to throw him the ball in that regard. They're going to be like, look, man, we superstars. This is what we do. But if you look at Atlanta, Trae's young. That's funny, huh? Trae Young. Trae's
right.
young, and John Collins is young. So you add Zion, I just think he fits better with the markability, with the storyline, with the narrative for the Atlanta Hawks. And plus, he's from South Carolina.
Facts. So if you're starting an NBA franchise today, are you taking R.J. Barrett or Cam Reddish? And why is that?
That's a no-brainer for me. Cam Reddish, and I wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep.
And why is that?
So when you look at R.J. Barrett, I like R.J. Barrett. I actually watched him play at Mount Verde, not too far from my home. So I watched him in high school, and I've always loved his passion for the game, his enthusiasm, his energy, and his motor. But again, breaking it down from a basketball skill standpoint, he still has, the jump shot is still mechanical. The ball handling skills are still mechanical. And the decision making is questionable. Now, when you flip the page and you look at a guy like Cam Reddish, this is a kid that I see has the highest basketball skill in the draft. His ability to handle the ball, to get his own shot, his mechanics on his jump shooting. And a lot of people are caught up in the analytics with Cam Reddish. Oh, his analytics are not good. I don't care what his analytics say. His basketball ability at 6'9", you know what? If this is a kid that just doesn't get it, then so be it. But you cannot pass on a talent like Cam Reddish because if you unlock his skill set, if you unlock what he truly is, you are maybe getting a guy that can have flashes of Tracy McGrady.
That is a great prediction. And I know he may be around when a team like the Chicago Bulls might be available. So obviously the Chicago-based podcast, what do the Chicago Bulls need to address coming up in the 2019 NBA draft?
Well, they need Ja Morant. That's who they need. You have to start your franchise with a dynamic point guard. And I believe Ja is the only dynamic point guard in this draft, but I really like Darius Garland as well. So don't get me mixed up on that. I like Darius Garland. There's a small sample size, but I think the Bulls need to address the point guard issue. And you combine Ja Morant, who's a pass first, exciting point guard. He's a lot like John Wall. I think you pair him with Zach LaVine, and you may have the most explosive backcourt in the NBA in regards to their athletic ability. So the Bulls need to either look for Ja Morant or Cam Reddish. Those two guys will be home runs for that organization.
So you're saying that Chris Dunn, their incumbent point guard right now, just really isn't the long-term answer for the Chicago Bulls.
No, he's a backup point guard. He's, coming out of college, and you can look at the search engine and look at my tweets. I wasn't a huge Chris Dunn guy in regards to he doesn't have superstar written on him, but he's an NBA player. Don't get me wrong. He's a great defender, but I just think that when you're looking to win games, Chris Dunn is a guy that you need coming off the bench.
Don't disagree with that. I know a lot of Bulls fans still believe in him, but we just haven't really seen the results on the court as of yet. So time will tell. I do agree that they need to upgrade the point guard spot. And Cam Reddish will be great there, I feel like, in Chicago. The fans would embrace him. He'd be a great fit for that city.
Yeah, I think he will be. I think he'll be great in Chicago as well.
I feel like Ja Morant, if the Phoenix Suns get the number 2 pick, I feel like he's a lock there to go and play with Devin Booker. What's your thoughts on that?
I think he's a lock to go number 2 as well. I think if the Bulls get the number 2 pick or the Suns, I think they get serious. I mean, they'll have to flip a coin between him and Cam Reddish. But the fact that Ja Morant plays the point guard position, I think he gets the nod because he plays the point guard position. But if the Phoenix gets the number 2 pick, I think it's a lock for them to take Ja.
Facts. And we got to briefly talk about, our homegrown team, Detroit Pistons. Outside of them hiring you as a general manager, what do they need to do to stop blowing draft picks?
Yeah, like you said, you that starts up top. You gotta, and this is for all the NBA teams. You have to start hiring people who can do the job, and it starts in the scouting department because scouting. Let me tell you something about scouting. It's meticulous, it's tedious, and it's something that's not for everybody. Even though people think they want to do it, you have to have an eye for it. You have to want to study tape. You have to have a feel for the game. And I don't think that every NBA team has somebody in their offices that has those characteristics. So speaking of the Detroit Pistons, I don't think they have anybody that's in their organization that has those characteristics in the scouting department because they either that or the person's not strong enough or they don't respect that person enough to go into the office with the GM and say, hey, look, you have to draft Cam Reddish here at 4. Are you're sure about that, Rashad? I'm 100% sure. I think a lot of guys are just too afraid. They just want to keep their job and they don't want to go out on a limb and say what their eyes see, or they just missing it and the team suffers because of that. Somebody has to be brave enough to look at these prospects and walk in the GM's office and say, this is the guy you need to draft. And if you don't draft him, he's going to come back and bite us.
Yeah, I was looking at like the last 5, 6, or 7 first-round picks. Most are either backups, barely in the league, or even out of the league. I mean, how can you get it wrong year after year after year after year, in the NBA draft? If it's not get one pick right, something has to be fundamentally wrong up top, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Luke Kennard, like, I don't understand, like that pick. Like, why would you draft Luke Kennard? And this Luke has slow feet. He has a short wingspan. He doesn't have the speed. So I just think that wasn't the pick. I thought Luke Kennard was a 2nd round pick. That's the grade I gave him. I thought he was a 2nd round pick.
Facts, and keep it in the state of Michigan, obviously, for this upcoming draft. Michigan basketball, Jordan Poole, Iggy Brazdeikis, Charles Matthews have all declared for the draft. So of the 3, if maybe all 3, who do you really think needed one more year of college basketball and why?
I think Matthews needed another year. I think that he was too inconsistent throughout the season, and I don't really know what he's great at yet. When you're looking at these prospects, what I try to do is I try to find something that player was great at. And I still can't put my finger on, is he a great ball handler? Is he a great scorer? Is he a great defender? I still don't think he has found that niche yet. But he does remind me a lot of Gary Harris. I think he can be that type of NBA player. But I think out of the 3, he should have been the one to come back to school.
So you think Jordan Poole actually has a bright future in the NBA, or what do you think his future outlook is?
I don't really want to say, I think it's too early for those guys because those guys are not like superstars of college basketball. So you really can't say, are they going to be, bright stars in the NBA? I just think that when he gets his opportunity, depending on the team it is, I think he has a great skill set of, he can get his own shot. And that's what he's great at, is getting his own shot. So I believe that's his best skill. And if he gets the opportunity, I believe he can be a player that can stick in the NBA.
This has been great. Your insight, as always, welcome and appreciated. Very, very great mind. You know exactly what you're talking about. So for those that don't know, let's talk about you and your future. We know you're an Orlando Magic insider featured on Spectrum 13. I know that station is doing very, very well. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's Spectrum 13 is the number one sports station in Central Florida, and it's been fantastic for us to be able to have these relationships with the Orlando Magic and throughout Central Florida, and it's fun. Like I went to, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I went to college for this. Like I loved broadcasting, journalism, and liberal arts communication. So, I'm kind of right in my wheelhouse with this. So everything's for me, it's just coming back tenfold. I tell kids this all the time. When you go to college, make sure you pick the right major, make sure you get your education, and make sure you do it with the right purpose. And right now, I'm blessed to be a living testament of a guy who went to college and actually picked the right major, because I'm actually doing exactly what I went to school to become when my career was over, and that's in the media.
And you're doing a great job, rising star in the media. What do you think's next for you, man? What's your future outlook? What do you want to do next with it?
There's so many things that's on the table for me right now. I wish I could tell you, but there's a lot of things on the table for me that will be coming out in the next, couple months, that you will see that question will be answered in the next couple of months.
Okay. And I know you're on to bigger and better things, so wouldn't doubt you for 1 second. Lastly, your YouTube sports show, Sports Talk 2319, is popular, garners a lot of attention. You do a lot of studies on players, both college and the NBA. Why should our listeners watch and catch that show?
Well, when you tune into Sports Talk 2319, the first thing that you're going to get is a person that's authentic, that really loves the game. I'm always going to tell it like it is, and I'm going to give a platform to every player. And this is why I started Sports Talk 2319, is to give every player, every college basketball player, every NBA player a platform to be showcased on. And it's doing well. And I hope you guys can join me on the show and continue to support me. I'm independent. I'm doing everything on my own. I write my own material. I come up with my own graphics. I come up with my own thoughts. And I just think that's not been done a lot in the media world, where a guy just kind of does everything on his own.
Great guy, great dude to know. We got connected through our guy Tyrone Jordan, so I appreciate that. Yeah, Ty's a man. I know he'll be listening to this. Saw he promoted on his social media, so good dude as well. We appreciate you always coming on to Alternative Facts Chicago. We'll love to get you back on again at some point. We'll always follow your journey. Never forget us as you blow up. We'll always remember you being on the show. But before we get you up out of here, I know you got to catch the playoffs, do some critique in there. Where can the fans and the listeners of Alternative Facts Chicago find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter, RP3Natural, and you can find me on Instagram, Rashad Phillips 2319.
There it is. So make sure you check them out. This has been a great discussion. And once again, definitely want to thank you for coming on Alternative Facts Chicago. We appreciate it. And hopefully, I'll remember you said this, your prediction of the Toronto Raptors, right? I'll definitely be tweeting you about this.
Talk soon.
Love it. So this has been B.Hun, Alternative Facts Chicago, episode 88. Cait will be back next week for episode 89. You enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Enjoy basketball. And we will be back next week. But we love you all and have a great one. Peace.